Hey everyone, welcome to another video tutorial from SFDC Stop, and in this tutorial we are going to talk about constructors. First of all, let's have a look at the documentation. What is a constructor? A constructor is code that is invoked when an object is created from the class blueprint. Okay, you don't need to write a constructor for every class. If a class doesn't have a user defined constructor, a default no argument constructor with the same visibility as the containing class is generated. I understand there are some difficult words, but we'll simplify it. For now, you just need to learn that a constructor is a code. Okay. So the constructor is code that is invoked when an object is created from the class. That's all. So you just need to learn this first line. So if I ask you what is a constructor is some code which is getting invoked whenever an object is created from the class blueprint. One more thing I want to share here is, in case of a constructor, it always has the same name as the name of the class. Okay, so constructor is going to have the same name as the name of the class. Now let's see how we can define a constructor. In order to create a constructor, we'll simply do public and then we can simply write the name of the class. For example, car. So I can say this is nothing but a constructor. Let me write one line here as well. So I can simply say constructor of class car invoked, and I'm going to save it. So if you see, what is a constructor? A constructor is some code which will get invoked as we create the object of this class. Okay, it has the same name as the name of the class. Also, a constructor does not have any return type. So if you compare a constructor with a method, right? If I compare these two things, this is a constructor and this is a method, you can see that a method always has a return type. For example, this method has a return type as void. This method also has a return type as void, right? But in case of a constructor, we don't have a return type. We just have the public keyword. Therefore, if I have to write the syntax of a constructor, it will be like public, and then we have the class name, and then we have the opening and closing curly brace where we can write some code. That's it. We can also have some parameters which we can pass within these brackets, but we'll learn about them as we move forward with this tutorial. For now, you can just understand that this is a very basic constructor which we have created for our class car. Now let's do one thing. I'm going to create an object of my class once again. So if you see, I created this object in the previous tutorial as well. What I can do, I can simply say car, my car, which is my object, and is equal to new car. And that's it. Let's run this code and let's see what happens. If you see, as I run this code, I'm getting a debug statement here as constructor of class car invoked. And this statement is coming from here. This means that whenever you are going to create an object of your class, whatever code you have written as a part of your constructor, it will be called. As simple as that. So this is what a constructor is. Now you can say that, I understand what is a constructor now, but what is the usage of this constructor? Like, why should I have a constructor in my class? Why are we creating a constructor? The answer to that is, we usually create a constructor so that we can initialize some of the variables that are present in our class. Now in the previous tutorial, we initialized the color, seater and brand of our car here, right? But what will be the color, seater and brand for this particular car? Any guesses? Let's check it out once. So I can simply do system.debug my car is equal to, and I can do my car. Okay. Now let's see what is the output. So if I run this code, you can see here constructor of class car invoked, and this is my car is equal to this particular car. And if you see here, brand is equal to null, color is equal to null, and seater is also null, right? So all the values are by default null, which is fine. But what if I want to have some default values for a particular car? So let's say if you want to buy a car, then by default you can say that you will get a white color car. So what can I do? I can also initialize these variables with some default values in my constructor. Because in constructor I can invoke any kind of code, right? I can write any kind of code. So I can simply use my constructor to set some default values for my variables. So what I can do here, I can simply say color is equal to, let's say, white, seater is equal to, let's say, 4, and brand is equal to, let's say, Tata. This is pushed, and now what I can do, I can simply execute this code once again. If we check out the output now, this time you can see here that my brand, color and seater, these are not null values, right? So brand is coming as Tata, color is coming as white, and seater is coming as 4. So I'm able to initialize my variables, or I can say my class members or member variables with some default values using the constructor. So this is one use case of our constructor. And now as we are initializing our values from our constructor, we don't really need to keep these variables as public, right? Because why did we keep them as public? We kept them as public because we wanted to initialize these variables outside the class, right? But now as we are able to initialize them within the class, we can simply remove this public keyword as well, and it will work absolutely fine. So let's save it. So the only difference here will be now I cannot access these variables outside my class. So let's say if I want to do my car dot color is equal to, let's say, red, okay, I cannot do that. So if I execute this code, you can see I'm getting this error, variable is not visible, car dot color, because I removed the public keyword. So these variables cannot be accessed outside the class. But what I can do, I can simply assign them values inside the class as well, which is fine. Now you can have another question that, okay, I'm able to assign them values, but in this case, what will happen is, it doesn't matter how many objects I create, all of them will have the same values, correct? For example, let's say if I create another car here, so I can say car, my second car is equal to new car, and here I can say system.debug, my second car is equal to, and my second car. Okay, now let's see what will happen. So if you see in the output, first of all, constructor of class car invoked. So my first car is created here, and the brand of car is Tata, color is white, seater is 4. And now again I created a new car. So this is my second car, and the constructor for my second class car is also invoked, right? And after that, my second car also has brand Tata. It is also of color white, and it is also a 4-seater car. Now you can say that, in this case, it doesn't matter how many cars I create, all of them will have the same values. But I don't want that, right? So what I want to have different values for these variables for every particular car that I create. Earlier, I was able to do that because I was able to assign these values myself outside the class, right? But now I'm not able to do that because these values are static, which are initialized within the class itself. So the question here is, how can I pass these values somehow to my car class so that whenever a new object is created, these values are assigned dynamically to these variables? Okay, I can do that through a parameterized constructor. I can do that through a parameterized constructor. Now let's see how we can do this. So what I can do, I can create another constructor here. Let's say I can simply do public car, and here I can also add a debug. So I can simply say parameterized constructor of class car invoked. Now currently it failed to push because these both constructors are the same. So if you see, these are exactly the same. I mean, it is just having these empty brackets and some code within it, right? But what I can do, I can have multiple constructors for a class with different parameters. And by parameters, I mean the values that I'm passing in my constructor. So let's say this constructor will receive 3 variables. Okay, so it will receive a variable with name color. It will receive another variable which is seater, and it will receive another variable which is brand. And inside this constructor, I can simply say this dot color is equal to color, this dot seater is equal to seater, this dot brand is equal to brand, and I can save it. So now if you see, this is saved successfully. Now let's understand what I have done. So what I'm saying that inside this constructor, I'm passing 3 variables. I'm passing a color, I'm passing a seater variable, and I'm passing a brand variable. And these variables are different from what I have initialized here. Okay, so these are the variables which are a part of this class car, and these are the variables which I'm going to pass from outside my class. Okay, so I'm going to pass these variables from outside my class to this class car. And here what I'm doing, here I'm saying initialize the class color. So this means I'm referring to this class itself. This is a keyword, and using this keyword I'm referring to the current class only. So I'm saying this dot color, which means my class color variable should have a value which is coming from this color variable. Okay, so the color variable which I'm passing here, the value of it should be assigned to my class color variable. Similarly, the seater variable which I have passed here, the value of it should be assigned to my class seater variable, which is this one. Okay, Similarly, the brand which I am passing right here, the value of it should be assigned to my brand variable which I define right here. So this is how this code is working. Let's see it in action and it will be more clear to you. So let's say for my second car, what I'm doing, I'm going to pass the value for these three variables. So I'm going to pass a color, a seater, and a brand. So what I can say the color of my car will be, let's say, blue, and for seater, it is an integer, right? So for seater, I can say it is an integer, and it is also a four-seater car. And for brand, let's say I can pass Tesla. So this is how I'm creating another class car with these three values, blue, 4, and Tesla. So these three values are passed within my car, and they are passed in these variables, color, seater, and brand. So the color will be blue. For seater, I'll have value as 4, and for brand, I'll have value which is Tesla. And then I'm taking up these values and I'm initializing my class variables with these values. Let's execute this code and it will be more clear to you. Now if you see what I have done, constructor of class car invoked. So first of all, the constructor of my class car invoked, which is this particular constructor, okay? And this is for the first object that I created without any parameters. And by parameters, I mean I'm not passing any values here. And because I'm not passing any values, it is calling this particular constructor automatically. So I'm getting the statement which is constructor of class car invoked. So I'm getting the statement constructor of class car invoked. After that, you can see my car is equal to, so I'm getting this value, my car is equal to, and the value of my car. So in the value, if you see here, brand is Tata, color is white, seater is 4. So these are the default values which I initialize from my constructor. Color is white, seater is 4, brand is Tata. Now let's talk about our parameterized constructor. So after this, what we have done, I'm saying car, my second car, is equal to new car, and this time I'm passing the values. So I'm passing blue for color, 4 for seater, and Tesla for brand. So I'm passing blue for color, 4 for seater, and Tesla for brand. And here I'm getting another debug which is parameterized constructor of class car invoked. So if you see in this case, I'm getting this debug which is parameterized constructor of class car invoked. So in this case, it is not invoking this constructor, but it is invoking this particular constructor. Why? Because we are passing the values here in our constructor while initializing an object for this particular car. So in this case, the constructor is not invoked, but parameterized constructor is invoked. So here you can see in the debug, I am getting my second car is equal to, and then I'm displaying my second car object. Okay. And for my second car, I'm getting brand is equal to Tesla, color is equal to blue, and seater is equal to 4. So in this case, it is not taking these default values. Okay. It is not taking these default values. Instead, what it is doing, it is taking the values that I'm passing right here. So it is setting up the brand as Tesla, color is blue, seater is 4. So what you can do, using constructor, or I can say using parameterized constructors, you can pass your own values for every different object that you create for your class. Now I can create 10 different cars and I can pass different values for my variables to my class car using my constructor. So if you remember this definition, it talked about a no argument constructor, right? A no argument constructor means a constructor which is not having any arguments, or where I'm not passing any values. Okay. So you can say that this constructor is a no argument constructor, whereas this constructor is a parameterized constructor, or the constructor in which we are passing some arguments. In general programming language, the variables that I define here, where I can pass some values, okay, these are known as parameters. Whereas the value that I pass to these parameters, for example, blue, 4, and Tesla, right? These are known as arguments. Listen carefully because this is a very important point, okay? So the variables that I have defined, they are known as parameters, whereas the values that I pass to these variables, these are known as arguments. So if you see what this line is saying, if a class doesn't have a user-defined constructor, a default no argument constructor with the same visibility as the containing class is generated. This means that if you don't define any constructor, by default, Salesforce automatically generates a no argument constructor like this one, which doesn't have any code. So it is having the same visibility as the containing class. So if your class is public, the constructor will also be public by default. Just in case, the class is not public, if it's global, then we can have a global constructor as well. Even we can have a private constructor as well. So we'll talk about these keywords like public, private, global in the next tutorial. But for now, you can just understand that in general, the constructor is usually public, and this is how you can use a constructor which is not parameterized, or I can say without any arguments, and which is parameterized, where we can pass some arguments. Now, one more thing that I want to share here is, because you have seen that we cannot have duplicate constructors, right? For example, if I try to have another constructor, let's say like this, with some different values. So let's say I do it red and then 3 and then something else, let's say Lexus, okay? So I cannot have it. Salesforce won't allow to have duplicate constructors. So if you see, I'm getting an error here, and if I show you the error, it will be method already defined from the type car. So this method, or I can say this constructor, is already defined, so you cannot have a duplicate constructor. Similarly, if I would like to have a duplicate constructor like this, so let's say I want to have a duplicate constructor which is parameterized. Now, can I have it? Let's try to save it. And if you see, I cannot have it. And again, I'm getting the same error, that method already defined, right? But what I can do instead, I can have a constructor with different parameters. So let's say in this constructor, I just want to have feature and brand, okay? So I'm saying that my color will be white, and I can pass the seater and brand which will be used. And here I can say, for example, parameterized constructor 2 of class car invoked, okay? It is saved. Now let's try to use it. So what I can do, I can create another variable. So let's say this time I'm saying my third car, okay? And in this constructor, I'm just going to pass 2 variables. So I'm going to pass 4 for my seater, and I'm going to pass Tesla for my brand, okay? And color will be white by default. So I can execute only this code. So instead of my second car, I can say my third car. Looks like I'm going to have a lot of cars today, and okay, it should be my third car. And if I execute this code, so you can see what I'm having. I'm having this constructor called, which is parameterized constructor 2 of class car invoked. And for my third car, the brand is Tesla, color is white, and seater is 4. So it is taking the color from here, which is white. Seater and brand are coming as I pass them. So the brand is coming from here, which is Tesla, and the seater is coming from here, which is 4. Okay. So similarly, I can have different constructors with different count of variables. So I can have a constructor without any variable. I can have a constructor with 2 variables. I can have a constructor with 3 variables, things like that. Or I should say, I can have a constructor with 2 parameters or 3 parameters in the correct terminology. So we can have constructors like this. One more important point that I want to highlight here is, for example, let's say I just copy this constructor, and I know I cannot save it because this is not allowed. But what I can do, I can simply switch these variables. So I can say, first of all, I'm passing the integer, and then I'm going to pass a string color, and then I'm going to pass a string brand. This is allowed, okay? So if I save it, so let's say parameterized constructor 3 of class car invoked, okay? I'm able to save it because here I'm passing an integer first, and then a string, and then a string. So if you see, here I was passing a string first, then integer, then string. So I have updated the order, and this is allowed in case of constructors. So what I can do, in this case, I can say, let's say car, my 4th car. So my 4th car, and here I can say I'm passing the integer, seater first of all, then I'm passing the color. So the color will be, let's say, green, and then I'm passing the brand, which is Tesla. So the brand is here. This time let's update the brand as well. So I'm going to pass the brand as Tata. So this is my 4th car, and if I execute this code, so here you can see this is also executed successfully, and my 4th car is having the brand as Tata, it is having the color as green, and it is having the seater as 4. So these are the values that I passed right here. And if you see, these are the values which I am receiving right here. And parameterized constructor 3 of class car invoked. So parameterized constructor 3 of class car invoked. So this is how you can have different constructors with same number of arguments, but the order should be different. And mainly the data type should be different as well. Because here I was having string, then integer and then a string, and here I am having integer and then a string and then a string. Okay, so the data type is also jumbled. Let's say if I do something like I'm creating another constructor, and here I say that I'll first pass the brand and then I'll pass the color. So this is not allowed. So if I save it, here you can see I'm getting the same error, because what it is checking the order of the variables. So it is having a string variable, then integer, then string. Here also string, integer, string. So this is duplicate. But integer, string, string, this is not duplicate. Okay. So you need to understand these facts. Now one last thing which I want you to understand before I close this video is, I'm using this keyword here because I'm referring to the variables which are having the same name as the name of my variables which are passed right here. Okay. Because these names are same for the variable which is defined for my constructor as well, and for the variable which is defined in my class as well, which is why I have to use this keyword to refer to the variable of my class, because otherwise I cannot differentiate, right? So if I just do, let's say, color is equal to color, then I cannot differentiate whether this color is referring to this variable or this variable, correct? Which is why I have to use this keyword. But if you change the variable name to something else, then it is fine even if you don't use this keyword. Okay. So let's say in this constructor, for example, if I change the variable name to seater1, color 1, and brand 1. Okay. So in this case, even if I don't use this keyword, it's fine. So I can simply remove it. And here I can say color is equal to color 1, seater is equal to seater 1, and brand is equal to brand 1. And I can save it. So if you see, this time it's clear, because I know that this color variable is referring to this variable, and this color 1 variable is referring to this color 1 variable. So this time it's clear from the name itself, right? Here it wasn't clear from the name, which is why we use this keyword. Now it's clear from the name, so it's fine even if we don't use this keyword here. Let me just run this code once as well, so that it's clear that I'm able to use this constructor. So this is parameterized constructor 3, where I'm passing seater, color, and then brand. So I'm passing seater, color, and then brand, this one. Okay. Let me execute this code. And if you see, I'm getting the correct output here as well. So parameterized constructor 3, which is having these variables, seater 1, color 1, brand 1, parameterized constructor 3 of class car invoked. So this statement is coming from here. And after that, I have assigned these values. So I'm getting my fourth car is equal to, this statement is coming from here, my fourth car is equal to, and then the value of my car. So the value of my car is, brand is Tata. So brand I pass here, which is Tata. Color is green. Color I pass here, which is green. And seater is 4. Seater I pass here, which is 4. So the value for these variables are properly assigned from the variables that are in my constructor to the variables of my class, and I'm able to initialize my class variables using the constructor. So I hope you understand that what is a constructor for a class, why is it used, and what is a no argument constructor, what is a constructor where we have some arguments, and how can we jumble the arguments for a constructor as well, and how can we have different constructors with different number of arguments as well, right? All of this is allowed. And if you see, the syntax is very similar to a method. It's just that we don't have a return type for our constructor. And in general, the constructor has the same visibility as the visibility of my class. Though I can change it as well. We'll learn about visibility in our next tutorial, and then you can try out changing the visibilities of your constructor to see what works and what doesn't work. But for now, you can just understand that generally we keep these constructors as public because we want to call them from outside our class. So in a way, we are passing the values from here, right? So we are passing these values. This means that we are calling this constructor outside our class, which is why we have kept them as public. That's all for this tutorial. I hope you liked it. Let me know your feedback in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.